Welcome to Compass Points, the weekly podcast for CompassKnox.com. CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. If you'd like to learn more about the topics discussed on today's podcast, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe for in-depth coverage and much more.
Welcome to Compass Points, a podcast about Knoxville and Knox County government, politics, business, education, just about anything else that grabs our attention. I am Scott Barker. I am the editor of Compass, the subscription-based website and newsletter where we report on all these things and more. You can find us at CompassKnox.com. I am joined, as almost always, by Jesse Mayshark, the co-founder of Compass. Jesse, how's it going today?
Going well. It's we've had some just lovely weather the last few days. I've been enjoying this, and we're gearing up for big holiday this week, so looking forward to that.
I agree with the holiday part, but I 100% disagree with the nice weather part. This is too hot for this time of year. I'm going to break in, and we're a day early, everybody, for taping because I'm skipping town this weekend. And for my now 5-day-old weather report, it's hot. It's stupid hot. Well, at least stupid hot for November.
Now, where did you grow up?
I grew up in just south of Milwaukee.
Okay, thank you.
They're probably under a couple inches of snow already.
I mean, it's hotter than it probably should be, but I have to say it's still delightful. Like, what does this level of temperature interfere with you doing that you want to do?
Well, I'm doing my annual hunting trip this weekend, and I'm not sure that warmer weather is good for my. It'll be more comfortable when you sit out in the woods, but I think it's might mess with the movement of the deer, and I don't know how to expect. Like there's patterns to these things in the cold and where they move when it's cold. I don't know what they do when it's hot because it's never hot when I go hunting.
So you don't like the hot weather?
I'm selfish
because you can't kill Bambi. Okay, we got you.
I mean, I named mine Susan, but whatever. I am.
That is Seth Barber, our intrepid producer. So
and outdoorsman.
I
do
and weather guy. So
yeah, and I got nothing for the Florida game. I don't know what to expect, so we'll just leave that at that.
We'll be getting to other sports stuff anyway. This week we'll be talking about just a couple of things. First, one thing is the top Energy Department official kind of dropped some national news in Knoxville on Wednesday. We'll talk about that. More developments with the Juvenile Service Center, that ongoing saga there. County Commissioner Rhonda Lee has announced she's going to run for a judgeship, and we'll talk about that candidacy and what that means. And but we're going to start off with sports. One Knoxville SC won the USL League One championship last Sunday on playing at home in their first year at Covenant Health Park in front of a league record 7,500 fans.
I was one of them.
You were one of them.
I did. That was my first occasion to get into that stadium, and it was a pretty good time.
Yeah,
I was impressed.
Well, I think it's interesting. Here we are in November, which is typically football season in Tennessee, but it's actually our football team that is performing better than our gridiron squad.
Yeah, it was really a great year for them. They won the what's called the Players' Shield, which is the regular season championship in USL League One. They were undefeated at home. And in soccer, there are a lot of draws, and they had several of those, but they were never beaten at Covenant Health Park. Their first year in Covenant Health Park, first year for Covenant Health Park. They had some personal, some of the individual players did great things. The goalkeeper of the year, Sean Lewis, and the defender of the year, and his name escapes me at the moment, but he was instrumental in and the goalkeeper as well, instrumental in their victory because there was a 2-0 win over Spokane, and they scored in the 4th minute, very early in the 90-minute plus match, and added a controversial goal in the second half, but didn't really matter. It was kind of interesting that he was one Knox player was fouled. The referee ruled that he was, or the official ruled he was fouled inside the penalty box. He was clearly outside the penalty box, which changes the type of kick you get to make. That gave one Knox a penalty kick, and it was successful. Kempis Tequila, I think is his name. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name.
I heard tequila. Everybody
Tequila,
says
excuse me. It is tequila. Yes,
they did the song and everything when he scored.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was a big year for one Knoxville SC. The fans were ecstatic after the game. I did not see it in person. I did see it live streamed though. That was one of the CBS Sports networks live streamed it, and it looked like it was would have been exciting to be there. It was exciting to watch, knowing that that was our kind of the hometown team.
Well, and I think that the turnout throughout the season, and of course especially like the first game they had a big crowd, and this last game they set a record. But overall, I think, because one of the obvious questions when One Knox first started here was just, are we there yet? Is it like soccer is very popular in Knoxville, and we've got soccer leagues and fields all over town. So there are a lot of people playing it, but would that translate to a viable, having a viable team that would have a big enough fan base to support it? Looks pretty good on that front.
Yeah, I think they kind of feed off each other. One of the things what Knoxville does is they sponsor leagues and from kids to adults, and they really promote amateur soccer in Knoxville, and having a pro team here, having a pro team win, be very successful here, gets those people who are involved in soccer excited, and they will want to go to the matches, and it could get more people more kids especially who are not necessarily would not necessarily otherwise considered soccer when all the hoopla goes on and the attention gets paid. They pay attention and they say, hey, you might want to try that, and might end up being pretty good. And it's like any other sport. Most kids who play soccer will never play professional soccer or anything else, but it's a lot of fun. You learn, as coaches in all sports like to say, you learn all kinds of life lessons and all that stuff. But it's really, really, really exciting to have a pro team win a league championship.
And I consider myself somewhat of a general football fan, if you will. I like to watch. I love World Cup. The World Cup is one of my favorite sporting events of all events, and it's good product. It's good product soccer. It's certainly not like Premier League level quality players or stuff like that, but it was a good matchup, even though it ended up being 2-0. The teams were fairly evenly matched. It wasn't like we were that much better than them, and so it was like, it wasn't like a UT New Mexico State game in football where it's just like we expect to win by 50 or it's a bad day. It was a good product if you like this sport, as well as we get the win locally, and that's always nice and stuff like that. And I think that helps bring fans out. Fans don't want to go watch blowouts. They want to watch good games where teams are matched up, and it's exciting. Still fun if you know you're going to win.
Well, I mean, soccer tends to be a much closer game in general than American football, or because if you score 3 goals in a game is a lot.
Right. Yeah, so that's a blowout. You're right.
Well, and one thing is watching the championship match in the after that goal in the 4th minute that One Knox got, Spokane really kind of dominated.
Oh yeah,
the rest of the first half. They were they didn't score, but they were they possessed the ball more. They were in the in their end to score more. They had a lot of chances, and as I mentioned, the defense and the player's name the defensive player of the year was Jordan Skelton. My apologies, Jordan. But they were fantastic because what was it? I think the stat that was that USL put out was they had 20 clearances where Spokane had the ball inside the penalty area and it was cleared out.
Worked out great because I was actually sitting on that half of the field, so most of the first half was played out in front of me, even though it was our defensive half.
But the second half, after especially after the penalty kick, put One Knox ahead 2-0. They held on the rest of the way, and they're the champs. So
and among the people who are going to be very happy about this, I'm sure, are our local county and city mayors, along with Randy Boyd, all of the people who work to get that stadium built, sometimes against opposition or questions about whether we really needed it, is it worth the money we're paying for it, all of those things, and those questions are obviously still out there. We still, it'll be interesting to see how the finances of all of this looks for the stadium overall through this first season. But having a winning team, and especially a winning team that can bring out like thousands and thousands of people like they did, that goes a long way, I think, toward building support in the community for, we have this stadium and we also now have this championship team. Like it makes people feel, at least some people probably, feel better about the whole operation.
Well, one thing after the end of the Smokies baseball season, talked to Chris Caldwell of the county, and the sales tax revenues were higher than they expected from that. And then here you had the Smoky or the One Knox hosted 3 playoff games. So those were 3 games that they did not count on. And all of the sales tax revenues from the ticket sales, from concessions, whatever else, all those revenues come to the city and the county to help pay for the debt on the stadium. So don't know how much that is going to be. Sales tax figures always lag, but that has to, it was already better than expected before the playoffs. So, and that helps offset one of the other funding sources for the debt service there, which was the Delaney building, which has been delayed in opening, so they haven't had the property tax. It's the tax increment financing portion, the property taxes from those condos hasn't come through yet, but that's going to be, that was kind of, that sales tax increase kind of offsets that, and so it's not, at least in its first year, has not been a financial debacle by any stretch of the imagination, and and you're right. I mean, if assuming that the enthusiasm for One Knox carries over to next season, and there's no indication, it wouldn't, but if it carries over, then next season would probably be another year where the revenues, at least from soccer, are pretty good. So so once again, congratulations, One Knox.
Yeah, congratulations.
And of course, now it's been a week since the match. So what are you going to do next year? Now, enjoy this year. So we'll move on to now talk about politics, which is more our realm than sports. Rhonda Lee, county commissioner, conservative Republican county commissioner, announced that she is going to run for General Sessions Court judge. It's Division 4, but there's several divisions, but it is a position that is being vacated by Andrew Jackson VI. Yes, the great whatever grandson of President Andrew Jackson.
Actually, quick note on that.
Yeah.
I got a note from a reader about this that I meant to put in the email to correct. One of our readers is a retired University of Tennessee history professor. He noted that technically, because Andrew Jackson and his wife had an adopted son, and so this Andrew Jackson is, yes, descended from that adopted son, is not a blood descendant of Andrew Jackson. For whatever that's worth, he was just pointing it out.
Well, that's certainly that's true. I did recall now that they did adopt, but adopted kids are still are absolutely still kids, just not a blood lineage for whatever that matters to whoever it matters to.
I mean, we are having no kings protests and stuff, so blood lineage does matter in these conversations.
Anyway, Rhonda Lee is going to run for his Jackson announced he's going to retire. His retirement is effective at the end of the year, December 31st. His term was going to end in after the 2026 election, so there's not much time left in his term. Lee is the county commission is going to have to replace Jackson at least through the end of his term. Lee is going to ask her colleagues to vote her into that position, and then she is running for the judgeship for a full term in 2026. So,
and she's going to run regardless of whether she gets the appointment, she says.
She is running regardless of whether she gets the appointment. If she gets the appointment, obviously she'll go ahead and step down as a county commissioner, but she is not going to run for re-election in the 7th District, which is North Knox County. She is not going to run for re-election next year. That throws that open.
And she already has one declared Republican. She had one declared Republican challenger there.
Yeah, Buddy Burkhart,
right.
the former party chair, was going to run anyway. Now he is the only Republican who has taken the step. The only step he can really take now is naming a treasurer. He's done that. You can't even get a petition to take out. You can't even take out a petition yet. To actually get on the ballot. No Democrat has said they're going to be running that I'm aware of, and at least officially. So Burkhart is going to be running for that seat. Lee, of course, is a very conservative, cultural conservative, especially. Her campaign treasurer is, and I don't know if he's the campaign manager or whatever, but he's certainly consulted to Eric Wider, who was responsible, who helped her with her campaign 4 years ago to get the job in the 7th District. So there, that's her team is intact, and she is running the. Of course, General Sessions judges aren't real political. They have to apply the law as written. They can't just, it's not like an appeals court judge that can change things. So, that she is been a practicing attorney for years and years and years here. Don't know if no one else has announced they're going to run for his seat. Although
it'll be surprising if there aren't, because those seats don't come up very often, and there's a lot of lawyers in Knox County.
I was about to say the same thing. That's judges aren't term limited, So
and they only have to run every 8 years.
Yeah, so once
it's a pretty sweet gig.
It is a very sweet
I'm
gig.
not saying they don't work hard, no offense, Your Honors, but it is. There's a reason that every time one of these come open, there's a lot of interest in the local legal community.
Well, it's one of the reasons it's a sweet gig is a sweet political gig, especially because you only have to run once every 8 years, and it's not. There are limitations on what judges can say and what they can do in running that kind of make it. Well, it is primarily about qualifications, though. Obviously, party affiliation plays into it, but not so much party ideology. It's more just anyway. So that Lee is running for that. One of the things that she was also kind of in the news as a commissioner last week because they voted to on one of her most high profile actions recently was getting the honorary resolution recognizing the accomplishments of Charlie Kirk, the conservative speaker, founder of Turning Point USA, who was slain in an assassination in Utah earlier this year. She got that resolution through that caused kind of some controversy, and because Kirk is such a polarizing figure, and he's a national figure, and these honorary resolutions that county commission issues, several every month. They are traditionally have been for Knox County organizations and Knox County individuals. Sports teams that win state championships, businesses that expand or whatever, do things. Individuals who make a contribution to the community, that sort of thing. This was the first one that I'm aware of in recent years that somebody who really, although Kirk came and spoke at the University of Tennessee, the University of Tennessee has a Turning Point USA chapter. He hasn't really been. He's not a local figure. He's not a local figure at all.
Figure.
And so the rules committee, the county commission's rules committee, decided, okay, well, we need to make because it is a tradition, but it wasn't required. We need to make it a requirement that whoever gets these honorary resolutions is a Knox County resident or a Knox County organization, business, whatever. So they came up with that, but even that was a it passed, but it was kind of a weird. It barely passed. 6-5 was the vote. Four of the Republicans who had all voted for all but Terry Hill voted for the Kirk resolution. 4 of them voted against making that a rule, that it be only a local person or business or organization that receives this. And that was, in addition to Lee, Adam Thompson, Andy Fox, and Angela Russell, who were Fox and Russell are along with Lee are the kind of the social conservative, cultural conservative wing of the Republicans on commission. They voted against it, and also, somewhat surprisingly, Shane Jackson, who's a Democrat, voted against it as well. He
had voted against the Kirk resolution.
He voted against the Kirk resolution, but he voted against this one. He had problems with the fact that it had to, whoever would receive these had to make a significant contribution to Knox County. He said, well, we're going to argue about what's significant and what isn't if we pass this, and he voted against it, but it passed. So in the future, there won't be those types of honorary resolutions. Individual commissioners can still recognize anybody they want, but honorary resolutions are the expression of will of the entire commission, and those will only be for locals. So
Real quick before we move off,
yeah.
If Rhonda Lee gets the appointment to cover this judgeship, the commission will have to replace her. And is that the similar? The commission would appoint somebody as a body?
Yes, they would appoint someone, and that person would. Lee, of course, Lee was going to be up for re-election in 2026, so a very temporary appointment.
Right, and then but the commission, you have to do full terms for it to count as a term, right? So the person who runs to replace. If the person is appointed and runs a replacement, they have 2 more full terms.
Right.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't count against them for as far as term limits go.
Right. Okay. I was just trying to remember that part correctly.
Yeah, it does in the city. A partial term counts as a full term in the city. That's why Tommy Smith couldn't run for re-election this year as the first district representative in Knoxville. So.
Well, and the one other thing to note there is that regardless of whether she gets the appointment just runs, doesn't get the appointment, but still runs for the judgeship, it means we're going to get a new county commissioner in the 7th district. And you add to that, we're also going to have new county commissioners in the 2 at-large seats because both of the people who hold those, Larson J. and Kim Frazier, are going to be running for county mayor next year. So that means of the 4 county commission seats up for election in 2026, the only one that's going to have an incumbent running is the 3rd district, where Commission Chair Gina Oster is seeking re-election. So we're automatically going to have 3 new county commissioners next year, regardless of what happens with the appointment there.
That's right. So there will be some turnover there, some new faces.
In addition to the whole batch of new commissioners we just got last September.
Right. So that's one of the things about term limits is you'll have a lot of people rolling off at the same time. That's what happened on city council this year. And all 5 of the district seats, the incumbents were the occupants were term limited, so they couldn't run for re-election. So we've got a whole new majority of council members. So it's one of those times of flux in local government that keep it spicy. So,
and of course, we're going to get a new county mayor next year as well.
That's true. We are,
but we won't talk about that right now.
No. Now we are going to be talking about county issues, the juvenile service center, the ongoing kind of controversy around it. We've talked about it considerably. Richard Bean, who ran it for 52 years, is named after him. Resigned under pressure this past summer. The county commission ended up voting on an ordinance and a resolution that together set the stage for the transition. A transition where there would be an interim superintendent until January, when the Knox County Sheriff Tom Spangler would take over management of the facility. That then there was a state report that came out that the new oversight committee over the facility had requested that was absolutely breathtaking in the amount of problems that it found at the facility. Everything from the need for a perimeter fence, not enough security cameras, staffing issues, all kinds of things that were going on that were very problematic that the county is going to have to address. The new superintendent, or the interim superintendent, initially tapped to do this was Brian Bivens, who's a former corrections chief for the sheriff's office. Bivens went in. There were all kinds of problems. One of the problems, and this ended up being kind of the crux of the matter, because Bivens ended up resigning earlier this month on the 9th, saying that he didn't get support from Knox County. One of the big issues had to do with staff, because Bean apparently had no command staff. It was just him. I think he had a captain and everybody else. There was no chain of command, no lack of supervisors for shifts and things like that. Bivens wanted to correct that, which of course would cost money because he'd have to. He wanted to promote 2 of the corrections officers, 1 to lieutenant and 1 to sergeant. He also wanted to hire 3 corporals. All of those would have cost more money. That and we got some emails. Public Records Request got some emails this week about the back and forth between Bivens and county officials about that.
And those messages are mostly Bivens saying, "I need this, I need this, I need this," and the county saying, "We don't have any money, sorry."
Yeah, that was basically it. And
Which gets back to the county's problematic financial situation that we talked about last week. They just don't have any money to do these things.
The budget for the facility is $5.1 million. Now these personnel changes would have cost, not that much. It would be $160,000 or so. But those are recurring dollars. They have to have those every year, and they have to budget for that. And that's where you run into some issues, changing in the middle of the stream. And Larson J., who is the county commissioner, who is also the chair of this oversight board for the facility, said, "Hey, there's not going to be any money this year. We're not going to change any money." That was obviously a frustration for Bivens. So he resigned. Also, in the middle of all this, it's kind of weird. In all through these emails, there are these references to personnel problems and including disciplinary issues. There was reference to someone apparently hiring an attorney. None of these things were spelled out. They were just kind of these vague references to these things. So there were apparently some issues there as well. Don't know.
Well, and Bivens seemed like he was kind of crosswise with county human resources.
Yeah,
and it just like you could just tell. I mean, I don't know. I don't know Brian Bivens at all, but reading about this and then reading those emails, it just looked to me like a guy. I mean, he had already retired.
Yeah,
He had retired. He gets called back in to do this thing. Obviously, is doing it basically as a favor. This was not something he was, super enthusiastic about. And he gets there, and then it's even worse than he's been told. Then there's this state report that really spells out how bad it is. And when he's asking for help, he's not only not getting help, he's actually getting scrutiny from the county HR people about his hiring practices and everything. And you could just kind of see from all of that he was like, why am I even here?
Yeah. And plus, he signed on for 6 months. He signed on for the end of December. Then the board said, well, the problems are too big to go ahead and hand it off to the sheriff now. And the sheriff's
office does not seem super enthusiastic about any of this either.
And so we're going to extend it another 6 months. So Bivens is sitting there going, "Oh, instead of doing this for 6 months, I'm having to do it for a year, and you're not giving me the support that I need." I think that's the when you put all of the Bivens hasn't come out and he did issue a statement after his resignation. His resignation letter was a very, very short, terse email that basically said, "I quit." That whole idea that he was going to be able to at least get in shape to hand off in December was one thing. Doing it for the complete year without any influx of funding was a little bit too far. And
that's a tremendous responsibility. You are taking care of minors.
Yeah.
And bad things can happen in juvenile detention and do happen in juvenile detention. And if something bad happens, you're going to be the one that everybody, comes after saying, how did you let this thing happen? So yeah, all of that I think the real challenge is who else do they get to actually do this job?
Well, what they did is they just promoted the captain who'd been kind of running the correction side anyway. He's going to be the interim now. He already makes more than Bivens made, so there won't be shouldn't be a cost associated with that, but you never know. But one thing is, I also talked to Chris Caldwell, the chief financial officer, about the funding thing. One of the things is, Bivens had brought up, use the fund balance, the kind of the cash reserves that the county has. You can use some of that for this. Well, first of all, those are only to be used for one-time expenses. If they jump in and do something like that, as I mentioned, these are salaries are ongoing expenditures. So that would be one of the things that the finance people would balk at and did balk at. Because that's kind of unlike the bonuses that came up the other day. That's a one-time expense. Even though they do it every year, they only do it every year if they have enough money, and that money actually came from higher than expected tax revenues from 2025. So didn't come from the fund balance. But and also, if they do make any mid-year adjustments like that, they generally make them for something that had been requested in the budget process and got denied, and they'll go back and do that. This wasn't that wouldn't be the case here, because the budget request that they got for the current fiscal year came from Bean back before his controversies with trying to fire a whistleblower, which is what led to his resignation. And so those. One could argue that this is an extraordinary circumstance, and hey, this needs to go to the front of the line for any mid-year adjustments. But as you said, Jesse, the financial situation in the county, there just isn't a lot of room to move money around in the middle of the fiscal year.
And I think that's something that, and I know there are people on county commission who are trying to raise that the prominence of that conversation and the public awareness of the county's situation. But I see like social media discussion about this on stories that you've written, or stories from the News Sentinel about the county's debt and spending, and there's still just like lots of people coming on there going, oh, they've got plenty of money, they're just it's the government, they're wasting money, blah blah blah. And of course nobody ever specifies what they think how they think they're wasting money. But the reality is, like, here we have, this is an important function that the county performs, dealing with a difficult and vulnerable population, and the county has already, like, clearly, as that report showed, the county has been underinvesting in this for a good long time. Now you can blame Bean for that, because he was not coming forward saying, I need this stuff. He was kind of keeping his head down and running this very bare bones and obviously insufficient operation. But now that it's been brought to light, the obvious answer to that is, oh, well, we'd better go and fix these things. And instead the answer is, maybe we can get to that in our next budget, because we just don't have the money for it. That's, and this is only one thing that could go wrong in the county. Like, the county has many, many needs, and they don't have money. They don't have any money. One of the things is that this plays into is, we talked about the debt. We talked about how the debt service is ballooning, and they really don't have a whole lot of capacity to borrow any more money than they already have planned for. Now they've planned to borrow money, or to use borrowed money to do things, capital improvements over the next few years. This isn't one of the things that's in the plan, and a lot of this is capital money. I mean, the surveillance, the camera surveillance system, they've actually talked about the real need is to get a completely new one, not just to add cameras, which if they added cameras, they need to add 32 to properly
cover the facility. The perimeter fencing. There's a key card system, which of course now is electronic and yada yada. Not, it's not a skeleton key in a hole anymore. So, there are all these capital needs that they have. Those are one-time expenditures. Some of them are very expensive, and the county doesn't, have the capacity to do that. Caldwell did say that they are looking at, other sources to get funding for some of these capital programs, which essentially would mean the state of Tennessee, because it's hard. There could be other grants out there as well, but one of the issues that was brought up, Angela Russell, county commissioner, brought up, why don't we just sell this to the state and let them take care of it? Why are we even doing this? Which Larson J had to point out to her, well, the state doesn't do that. It's statute. The state doesn't run juvenile detention facilities, so that's not something that, and they don't do that because of state statutes. But that's for anybody out there who thinks that might be an option. It's not. Now an option could be to get some a private entity to run it.
But you still got to pay them.
You still got to pay them, and there are a couple in the state that do that, but it's much more common in adult corrections facilities than it is in juvenile facilities,
and on the budget,
for obvious reasons.
On the budget conversation, I'm reminded of, was it this budget cycle or last year that that Sheriff Spangler was posturing to sue the county over his budget, and so even with the addition of, I'm assuming the addition of what the Bean Center is currently getting will go to his budget next year, which it's already clear that that's not enough for that center to do it at once. And so my point being is that it's not that the sheriff's office has excess money to invest in these processes either. When the sheriff's office does take functional
and that's
control.
the thing. The real picture here is that Knox County is a county of 500,000 people, a prosperous county. We're one of the wealthier per capita counties in the state, and yet we run our government at a level in which building a fence around a juvenile services center is something that, like, oh no, we can't do that. That's the actual situation. Right?
Yeah. So that will be, that'll be something that will not die away until budget time. It will continue to be an issue, and will continue. It'll be an issue in December. It'll be an issue in January. It'll be an issue in February. So, and we'll tag along on that and try to stay on top of that as well. Final thing that happened this past week that was unusual is that there was some national news that was broken in Knoxville. Apparently so. The chief of staff of the Department of Energy, Carl Coe, was in town for a conference held by the Tennessee Advanced Energy Business Council. They do this every year. They bring in industry leaders, talk about advanced energy. They brought in Coe, and Coe dropped that on Monday. President Donald Trump is going to sign one of his executive orders, basically creating what they're calling a Manhattan Project style initiative for AI, for artificial intelligence, for its applications in military, national security, and scientific advancement. Obviously, here ORNL's already in the AI world. They also announced earlier this month that they're going to get 2 new supercomputers just for AI work in the coming years. So that was kind of just an interesting thing, that it was the chief of staff, the second in command at the energy department, said, "Hey, I'm going to steal the president's thunder and announce this," because they hadn't announced it. It was funny when we had our correspondent Gerald Witt covered that and filed his report on it. I looked at it and I said, well, I hadn't heard of this, so I was going to look it up. And the only reference I could find to it was a Yahoo Finance story quoting Coe from the event in Knoxville that happened that day. Like, oh, okay. And I couldn't find it anywhere else. It's called the Genesis Mission is what they're calling it. And now Coe didn't share any details on it. All he did was basically say, hey, I'm telling you before the president does. He doesn't take a salary. He's independently wealthy. He doesn't take a salary and really doesn't care. I guess he's fire me if you want to, Mr. President. I mean, he didn't say that, but he did say wasn't worried about losing his job or anything. So anyway, we'll find out more about that on Monday. Apparently,
and fans of dystopian science fiction, I'm sure, will not find anything at all alarming about massive government funding for an AI project called Genesis. That definitely doesn't sound like anything out of a sci-fi movie.
I was about to say it sounds like a movie. Yeah. So welcome to Hollywood. Anyway, those are some of the things that happened last week. Next week, very light because of the holiday. City Council is meeting. Their agenda is really light. The only thing the only major thing on there's a second reading of the ordinance on the proposal to allow split ownership of a duplex. Now that actually got a lot of pushback. It only passed 5-3 with one abstention on first reading. Some of the council members want some assurances on design guidelines. Some of the primary objections came from neighborhood groups who objected to this because it essentially creates two smaller lots where they're instead of one, and it's kind of a weird thing because looking from the street, looking at the building itself, it just looks like any other duplex, which is allowed anywhere. Some in the lower density neighborhoods under special, they have to get a special review to allow that, but it would look normal. Where it looks different, it'd be in the driveways because they would have two driveways instead of one, two curb cuts instead of one, which is one of the issues, especially in West Hills, they have with it. Of course, it was also pointed out when they talked about it last time that you can have one of those semicircular driveways with two curb cuts now. I mean, it's not uncommon to see that. So, but city council, some of the city council members wanted some more clarification on these design guidelines and exactly what it might look like from the streets. But anyway, and this is an arrangement that the city used to have a similar ordinance before they changed the zoning code into Recode Knoxville, and other cities have it as well. Anyway, second reading of that Tuesday. And of course, it is Thanksgiving. So on Thursday, we did have some bad Thanksgiving news from this past week. The University of Tennessee's Extension Service took a look, and Thanksgiving dinners in Tennessee will cost 10.5% higher this year than last year. So that pesky affordability issue is rearing its ugly head at Thanksgiving, and now their news release about it did point out that other reports on the cost of Thanksgiving dinner said it'd actually be cheaper, but the University of Tennessee folks included ham that other groups looking at Thanksgiving costs don't look at.
A staple of the Southern table.
It is more of a Southern thing than it is a national thing, that's for sure. So anyway, they did say that prices could change between, and probably would change somewhat between now and Thanksgiving, or between last week and Thanksgiving Day. They did point out that the super centers have the best prices and the regular supermarkets have the worst, and everything else is in between. Anyway, that's a downer note. Hopefully, it will be will not be enough to spoil anyone's Thanksgiving, and that people will be able to go out and get what they need and celebrate on Thursday with their family and friends as always, and hopefully be thankful for their situation.
For sure,
there are a lot of people who it will be difficult for this year, and so we hope the best for them too.
And the day after Thanksgiving, Christmas season officially kicks off in downtown Knoxville.
That's true.
With the Regal Celebration of Lights, where they do the big tree lighting Friday evening, 6:00. And that's also the day that the Holidays on Ice skating rink opens on Market Square. So enjoy your Thanksgiving, and then you can turn right around and plunge straight into Christmas.
It's that
if
time of year.
If you haven't already plunged neck deep into Christmas, like many of us already do.
Well, I'm an old fuddy duddy on that.
I'm with you.
I don't go into Christmas till after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we put up our tree the weekend after Thanksgiving. That's our
me
normal
and you, Scott. We vote in the voting booth, and we wait till after Thanksgiving before Christmas starts.
That's true, but we a lot of people do it other ways, and that's fine. The diversity is what one of the things our country is all about. So anyway, that is everything that we're going to have for this week. We hope everybody out there does have a good Thanksgiving, an enjoyable Thanksgiving, and we will be back next week, probably with a more abbreviated version of Compass Point, since there will be very little political news.
We hope there will be little.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of news, it's not going to be good.
That's true. So anyway, everybody out there, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Want to thank Will Wright for the music provided to our show, and of course Lord Seth Barber for his acumen producing us, and Jesse, thanks again for being here, and we will talk to you guys next week.
CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. If you'd like to learn more about the topics discussed on today's podcast, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe for in-depth coverage and much more. And many thanks to William Wright for composing our theme song. Compass Points is a partnership of Barking Shark Media and Barbarian Productions, and recorded by Lord Seth A. Barber at Barbarian Studios, Knoxville, Tennessee.